Roger, would you like to go first and introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everybody. Delighted to be here at the Bushel Buddy Conference. My name is Roger McNamara, and I'm the Director of B2B Acceptance at Visa.
Thank you.
Hi everybody. I have the honor of being Taylor Fitzke's dad. So it's a Bushel, yeah. Roger Fitzke. I'm the General Manager of Reichman Sales and Service, which is a generic ag chemical distributor out of Central Illinois.
Morning, everyone. Doug Richards. I am the COO and CTO for the Cooperative Finance Association, or better known as CFA. Very, very excited to be here this morning.
Thank you, Doug. Okay, I'm going to start with what I would call the ag operator in the group, Roger Fitzke. I'm going to start with you, and I'm going to ask Roger. Roger, could you tell us about your process for accepting payments and what challenges you have in that process at Reichman?
Sure. So our business is set up. We ship generic ag chemicals to 23 different states. So getting timely payments is a big issue for us. It can take 12 to 14 days to get to Toluca, Illinois, where our base operations are, because that's where the customers send the check. Our business is probably going to be $120 million, and about 35% of that is grower business. A lot of the grower business, we don't ship the product until we receive payment, and that's all fine and dandy until March and April hit. We're waiting for money to ship product, and it holds up. It creates a lot of backlogs. So the Bushel wallet is, now that we're using it, is helping us speed up that process. The other thing for us is we are owned by a large family-owned corporation, and we have a lot of access to capital to grow our business, to buy inventory and fund receivables. However, we pay a very high rate for that, and 11% APR.
Wow. Right.
So we want to get paid as soon as possible, because I don't like sending that money to corporate. I'd like it to keep it in our house. So anyway, that's the purpose. It's twofold. It's better customer service, better experience, and then to also ease the fee we're paying to corporate.
Right. So you've had to basically combat the accounts receivable problem by simply holding off delivery until you get paid, right?
Yes. We service independent dealers who turn around and sell growers, but there's a decent percentage of growers that don't want to fill out credit apps. They just want to pay cash.
Right.
And the mail seems to get slower and slower every year, and it becomes a backlog for us. So the Bushel wallet type payment system has been an advantage for us, and we have not used. We're trying to improve our customer experience with technology to be more like an Amazon type experience. Whether the customer wants it or not, we have that ease of use. So this helps us get there with that. So.
Awesome. Thank you. So the next question is going to be to our other operator here. Doug, as a lender doing input financing, what challenges do you face in terms of, after you get that loan approved, actually getting those funds used and dispersed and in the hands of the people who want to borrow the money from you?
Great question. So we've spent the last couple of years adding a lot of sophistication to our platform to automate those payments and the disbursement and getting the funds into the hands. Our belief is that the faster we can make the funds available to that grower, the faster the utilization occurs, and that utilization is key to us. Making the money work is really a really big part of that. So I think on the origination side, we have a pretty good answer for that in our field finance platform.
Right.
But it's the incoming, it's the payment side that's always the slowdown, because we handle large notes, and it's still much easier to write a paper check than it is to trust an electronic system. So it's one of the things we're very excited about integrating with the Bushel wallet, is the ability to do those large loan transactions at high volume in a trusted transaction with your group.
Right. And how about also like just getting, I mean, when the loan is approved, like you don't earn interest until you know the money is actually used. What about on just the use of the use of the loan funds? What challenges do you have there?
It's a lot of manual processes. Manual process slows down everything. You know, there's still a lot of people who use paper-based ledgers. There's still a lot of people who, even if it's not paper-based, it's an Excel spreadsheet. There's a lot of, you know, a lot of slowdown there. Which also obviously opens up. There's a lot of human error that comes with that. So there's a lot of rework. You know, there's you know, I you know, put in the wrong number here. We need to, you know, make a phone call in. So my team has to go in and make adjustments. Our credit team goes in and makes adjustments. So there's a lot of error correction that comes out of that process.
Right. Right. Okay, so next I'm going to, Roger from Visa. I mean, you get to see a lot of, I mean, you're not ag focused per se, right? So you're a B2B guy, and so you get to see a lot of industries. Do you have any parallels to this, like that you see, like things that remind you of ag in the USA, and what, you know, things that are similar, either other countries, other industries, and then any like growth, and what was the catalyst for that growth for electronic payments?
Sure, great question. Well, we actually are pretty entrenched in agriculture and LAC. We have a specific product.
LAC, I used to work for Visa. LAC means Latin America, Caribbean. Huh?
Yeah,
Like
so
that,
there
huh?
you go.
Look at that, huh?
So
they love the acronyms at Visa. Like your first year there, you don't know anything because everyone's saying things like LAC, and you don't know what they're talking about, so.
For sure. I still don't know what they're talking about. So we have a specific product issue with an issuing bank in Latin America just for agriculture. But in the US here, I would see a similarity in the manufacturing industry where we've seen a huge growth in B2B acceptance. So B2B and using card today is commonplace. Most businesses have a payables program. It is odd for me to go to a corporate or any size business and not to have some sort of a plastic program. Getting paid to pay your bills is a good thing. So getting rebate back, getting something for making those payments, and quite frankly, using someone else's money to be able to do that. An issuer is giving you an opportunity to use a product and use someone else's funds. You should take advantage of that. On the reciprocal side, you know, I work a lot with suppliers, and sometimes there's a little bit of resistance from suppliers in taking card, and they might say that it's too expensive. But what we've spent an inordinate amount of time doing at Visa is educating both sides of the equation. It's a little unrealistic to make a payment using a card, let's say for $100,000, and take term as well. And the supplier might look at that and say, listen, I'd like the card transaction, but maybe not at day 45. And we've seen a tremendous meeting of the minds between farmers and suppliers in how they use plastic to work for their business, using it as a working capital tool. Right. And for the suppliers to use it as a collection tool as well. So, you know, accelerating payment is a key element within the B2B structure. And when we see buyers do that, we see a very harmonious experience between farmer and supplier in the marketplace.
So when you say not at day 45, what you're saying is that the merchant is okay paying the fee, but they don't want to pay that fee 45 days out because they've already lost the working capital for 45 days. Is that what you're?
100%. So
okay.
Suppliers today are financing their business one of two ways.
Right.
They're either borrowing or they're using their own capital reserves to support the receivable. That's expensive either way. You know, the average weight of cost of capital today, north of 10%. Funds are costly. Prime is high. So businesses are paying a lot of money to borrow to support the receivable that you have yet to pay them. And on the flip side, you know, the buyer is out there and he's looking for the use of that working capital tool. So when we see this kind of come together, it's a really beautiful thing. I do a tremendous amount of what I call brokering between buyers and suppliers out there. Someone who's wanting to make a consistent payment, but is having trouble doing so. And when we get both parties together, it's amazing what we can agree to and make that spend flow, get that rebate, get that float, get that accelerated cash for the supplier, even though there may be a fee involved. And by the way, I think there's a little bit of a myth about the fee. In business-to-business transactions, there are different interchange rates. These are the rates that behind the scenes you may not see that the supplier would pay, or in some cases you may see if you accept card, are substantially lower in B2B than they are in other MCC codes, merchant category codes. So we see interchange rates at 145 basis points. If you're financing a receivable over 30 days, it's costing you 145 basis points. So it's the same difference. So there is a little bit of a misnomer that card is expensive. Card, when used the right way, is the greatest tool ever. Think of everybody in this room probably has a piece of plastic in their wallet from an issuer, and you use it for particular reasons because it works for you. Well, the same applies in the business segment as well.
Awesome, thank you. I mean, have you seen? I mean, is there an industry that like has nothing to do with farming that you would say like, man, like that industry has really made major headway in moving to electronic payments over the past like 10 years that in the United States, and maybe what was the catalyst for that?
Well, B2B e-commerce for sure. You know, every major player, Grainger, Home Depot, HD Supply, which is part of Home Depot, Lowe's, everybody in that space that sells online. I joke, you know, I've been in this business a long time, and when the internet came around, I was here, and it was hard for businesses to stick a $20 bill through a computer terminal to pay, right? So plastic became the next option, and a very convenient option. So we've seen massive adoption in B2B e-commerce. When you talk to those folks, you know, they want to collect. They don't want to have receivables. They would rather get their money up front and settle with the buyer than carry that debt and risk. And by the way, the longer the debt goes out, the higher the risk becomes on that. So again, that becomes more costly. So again, when the supplier accelerates those funds, he mitigates that risk. Not to say that anybody in this room is risky, but that is just a fact. The longer you carry that receivable, the more riskier it becomes. So I would say B2B e-commerce, and as I mentioned before, manufacturing for sure.
Manufacturing, really?
Yeah, wow. Manufacturing for sure. You know, auto parts, we've seen a tremendous need, you know, in that space. People like Ford, people like GM, using card to accelerate payment from suppliers that are supplying them. Huge, huge trend in that space.
Back to Doug. Let me ask you this, Doug. In your opinion, because one of the things that we're contemplating, I mean, we're not contemplating, it's on the roadmap, is when we issue our Bushel debit card, is to then have that tied into these different lines of credit with the lenders, so that you can tap not only your cash balance that you have with us, but there'd be like a waterfall on the authorization. I think you call it cooperative auth in the card speak, right? I mean, do you think that would help a lender get higher utilization of like a line of credit, for example, if we offered that? Do you think that would be meaningful?
I think it would be meaningful, and I think it's probably in consideration of the emerging generation of farmers. You know, I mean, we've got, you know, there's an aging population of growers that have, you know, more traditional ideas on how to move money. And I think, you know, with the expectation of this emerging generation of farm leadership, this is the internet generation. We've all been in this business for a long time, and we expect convenience. We expect that to be part of our business landscape. And to be able to take, you know, to create a Bushel card and use that as an authorization, a form of payment, a way to move money around, it makes perfect sense. And it also, in our world, from a CFA standpoint, that helps me from an integration standpoint, because then it's pure data, because then I don't have to go into record keeping. It's literally just, you know, debits and credits across that landscape, and that's much, much easier to maintain.
Right. Our, you know, like, I'm never short of ideas and stuff like this, but like, you know, it all, you know, everything to me is middleware, right? Like, and these integrations, and us prioritizing these projects so that we, you know, like I said earlier, like, is it going to make the Bushel products better for our customers? And is it going to be a better experience than anything else that exists for agriculture today? I mean, that's a great example. I think is using just a standard debit card to hit those lines. Back to Roger Fitzke. I mean, your story is very interesting about the not shipping the product until you get the check. I mean, do you have? Does that completely eliminate all your collections, or do you have a significant part of your business at all that has to focus on collections at all, even with that?
Yeah, we still have quite a bit of accounts receivable. So the metric used is day sales outstanding.
Right.
So our business today is around 15 days.
That's pretty good.
Which in the ag retail world is probably about 25% of what traditional retailer. They're usually 60 to 90 days. So we are getting our money pretty fast, but we used to be at 5. But we've expanded our business. We've doubled our customer base, and with that's more growers and more customers and 15-day terms and that type of stuff. But we still have roughly about $10 million receivable at the end of each month during our busy times. And, you know, if you can reduce that by $2, $3, $4 million, it's really nice. It's interesting. I was sitting there with Taylor with the previous speaker, and we got a payment in today on the Bushel wallet.
Oh, great.
So yeah, it's cool. You know, it wasn't a huge one, but at the end of the day, customers are utilizing it, and it definitely helps us out.
My favorite story from when I worked at Visa was always about Dean Hawk is the guy who kind of created Visa. I think he worked for Bank of America, and Visa was spun out of Bank of America, by the way. And he goes and he pilots the whole thing in, like, I think Modesto, I want to say, which is kind of a ruralish community. It's a farmer community. It's east of San Francisco, about, I don't know, it's an hour-and-a-half drive, I think, or so from me. There's a good concert venue there, so I go there once in a while. But like he went to the CVS's of that day, the Walgreens of that day, all the drugstores, and he noticed in their back office they had these teams of people doing accounts receivable. Because in the old days, it's like in the movie It's a Wonderful Life, when they go in and they buy something where Jimmy Stewart's working, when he's a kid and he's working at the drugstore, they just put it on the tab, right? Well, that gets to be quite a hassle eventually, right? Because everyone in town owes you money. And really what that vision was of Dean Hawk was, take all that work you're doing in that cash flow and move it to these banks. It becomes their problem then, and they're going to pay you the next day. And obviously, it's worked, right? Right. So I mean, what you're saying, it really resonates with that, Roger, as far as I'm concerned.
So our competitive advantage is it costs us about 3% operating expense as a percent of sales. Your normal co-op or ag retailer will be closer to 20. So, and we've doubled our business in the last 3 years, but we haven't doubled our people. But we're at a pinch point now that if we have to get this payment system figured out to take some pressure off our customer service group to where, maybe we can take that next step in growth. We love our team. We like to keep it small, and everybody's all wanting to grow and work hard, but we don't want to. I put them in a pinch point this year, and Bushel Wallet's helping us get out of that. We do take Visa. It's a couple % of our business. So we do take it, and we have a grower financing program. We need that customer to go in and pick how they want to pay, and we're hoping the wallet will do that, so they can pick the options.
Right.
And we think Doug and I are probably going to do some business together on a grower financing program.
See,
so.
This is buddy seat.
Yeah,
It's a case study for us.
yeah, it's a case study.
That's recorded, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So let me see. Okay, I think we're going to take back a little time here, likely. The next section of this is I think there's a lot to cover.
Tony, can I take that a little bit further
Yeah,
with
sure.
what Roger was saying? So, Roger, we need to talk after this because, first off, a DSO of 15 days is really, really good.
Yeah.
Now, if you're coming off 5 DSO, it doesn't look so good. But average out in the market today, just in B2B, what I see, 30 gives you 45 DSO, 60 gives you 75 DSO, and 90 gives you 110 DSO. Right?
You mean when you say gives you mean if you say the payment terms are this
Correct.
many days,
Yeah.
then they're going to bump it up 15-ish. That's about what you said.
100%. That's what people play,
Right.
the money game. That's what they do.
Right.
So in this case here, he's at 15 days and he takes Visa. I would advise him as a supplier to set a term on card that works for him to get his money in an accelerated fashion. Not just take Visa, but tell the buyer when he wants them to pay him with Visa. And that will make him comfortable, more comfortable, it will improve his DSO. And for the buyer, the farmer that's making that payment, you're still going to get your net 30 from the issuing bank. So it doesn't affect in any way. And it's just that communication that we have to get between farmer and supplier that will help Roger and help the supplier in the meantime. So they'll get their payment, he'll get his accelerated funds, and that 2% that he talks about that he pays for that will be eaten up by the 10 days or 15 days acceleration he gets on card because he's not borrowing or financing that debt for 15 days. So when we look at the economics of this, it's just tweaking it a little bit to be a little bit smarter in how we do it. Now, I didn't know coming up here today that he had that issue, but I'm sure as hell going to be talking to him about it afterwards.
Well, I think for the Bushel folks out trying to sell the product, so we're in the ag chemical space. Grower prepay can really fund a lot of these retailers in fertilizer and seed. They spend all their money in that or buying John Deere equipment, right? It does not equate, it does not come back to us as grower prepay. So we don't have that luxury of getting a lot of customer prepay in the ag chemical space, even though it's grower based. And our other competitive advantage is to take our access to capital and go pay these generic suppliers for large prepaid discounts. So we can be ultra competitive versus the Bayers and Monsantos and BSFs and all those folks in the space. So yeah, we need to talk.
Yeah.
I mean, you brought up a good point and absolutely.
Right. I mean, I love that idea of the flexibility in terms of treating card differently, maybe as it is exposed to the buyer in terms of an option based on days, such that, I think, like pushing it more early is, okay, I'm gonna have these bigger fees, but maybe my DSO will be 5 days.
Yeah.
Right? And so then it's totally worth it, right?
No, listen, I've had countless examples. This is a way out one I'll give you, but I was involved in a transaction where 2 corporate jets were purchased, and we put them on a card. It had never been done before. So you would think, why would someone want to do this? Well, there was tremendous reason why to do it, because the spend was getting rebate. But from the supplier's perspective, the manufacturer's perspective, why would they want to do it? Well, we figured out that the way corporate jets, you buy them is that you pay them upfront for them on a schedule. And if you accelerate those payments in a quarter in advance or a year in advance, it has a huge difference to the manufacturer's bottom line. And we were able to accelerate payments from the end of 1 year forward, or from 1 year backwards into the next year. And it made a huge difference. So what I'm saying here is not we're going to go out and start buying corporate jets on card, but there is the ability for us to use funds in a very efficient way in this space that has a win-win potential for both farmer and supplier. We should get away from that old adage that credit's bad and it's expensive. It's not. Cost of funds are high today, so this is a perfect opportunity for us to work together on these solutions.
Right.
Selling generic ag chemicals is not as cool as buying corporate jets, I can tell you.
Today it is, though.
Okay, how are we doing? Okay, so, okay, our final one I'm going to ask each of you, and I'm going to start with Roger from Visa, because he already has this answer, I'm sure. If you could snap your fingers and change one part of the current payment processes, like across the entire ag industry, what would it be? And so for what I'd like to change this for you a little bit, since you're not an ag operator, Roger McNamara, is for you, I'd like to change the question to be a little bit, if you could snap your fingers, and what would you like to see like in 5 years? Like where would you like to see this industry get? Because obviously this is an old industry. It's arguably the most important industry in the country, or we'd all starve to death. And like, what would you like to see if you could snap your fingers? Like in 5 years, where would you like to see it?
Well, I probably would say, today B2B spend at Visa is about 1.75 trillion a year. So all B2B. Consumer is 9 trillion. So consumer is, by far. But here's the reality. In the US, B2B opportunity is 24 trillion. We're capped out in the B2C space because anywhere you can use card today, it's accepted, but not in this space. So in 5 years, I would love to see the utility of card and for the merchants to understand that they can control it as a collection tool to accelerate funds into their business and to give buyers the opportunity whenever they want to use a card to be able to do it. The second thing that I want to see, and this is an evolution, and you guys probably see this, maybe some of you see it if you have a payables program, is the ability of virtual card to be seamlessly accepted. So we just launched a tool at Visa that can process a virtual card without any manual intervention. So that means someone gets an email, says you want to pay them using a virtual card, they have a ton of work to do. We've eliminated all that. I want to see that in every supplier around the globe and have them with a seamless opportunity to accept plastic from buyers in a good way.
And when you say a virtual card, you mean not the card the guy was issued from the bank, but some sort of virtual one that was created by some kind of middleware construct, sort of in real time, and deployed like kind of seamlessly behind the
Yes,
scene.
single use, no
use.
liability whatsoever in it. You can't steal it, run off down to Best Buy and buy a big screen with it.
Right.
You just only good for that supplier at that amount, done.
Right.
That technology is here today. It's incredible. The processing back end of it just got there, and now it's here. And now in the next 5 years, the rollout of that will be incredible, I think.
Awesome. That's awesome. So to you, Roger Fitzke, if you could snap your fingers and change one part of the current payment process in the ag industry, what would it be?
I don't want to change the ag payment process because I don't want to negotiate for the industry. But what I do want from Bushel is to be a single outlet for these payments, ease of use for us and our customer, and that's our competitive advantage, and let the other people catch up. Okay?
Awesome.
So
right.
I really want to be able to use Doug's grower financing program, which would be like white labeled under us. I want the grower to be able to access his line of credit if he wants to there, or if he wants to pay it with his Visa, or if he wants to pay it out of his bank account or his wallet, his Bushel wallet.
Right.
In one spot.
Right.
And I go back to Vance, help me manage the chaos in this because it is way out of my comfort zone. So we think we're efficient, but we think the ag industry is pretty inefficient. So we really don't even know how to label ourselves. But I do know it's chaos in my mind, and I can't verbalize where we're headed. I don't know what the hell he's talking about in a virtual one-time card that you can use and all that. And it's like, okay, yeah. I'm not even going to pretend I know what he's talking about. So anyway, but we'll get there.
We'll get there. And Doug, to you, if you could snap your fingers and change one part of the current payment process in the ag industry, what would it be?
So I'm assuming I'm last on the list here because I'm now under a time crunch. Because
No, we're fine. We're fine all the time.
For those of you that know me, I will talk forever about this. This is something, I'm going to put my CTO hat on here and talk about technology. So I think the number one thing that, it's two simple words, that we could summarize that would not only impact payments but impact agriculture in general is digital citizenship. We have digital citizenship in every other element of our lives, but for some reason in ag, we are extremely resistant to digital citizenship. And what does that mean? So digital citizenship, quite simply, is participating in the digital world. So as we think about taking payments and we think about the ease of transaction, things about those things, you have to have cooperation from that individual. And right now, there's still a massive trust factor in the industry where technology is a distrust. What I'm concerned about is, more than anything, is being disrupted. Disruptive innovation is the coin of the realm in Silicon Valley and has been for decades now, and that's what they do. They go into every industry. Insurance it's happened to, car buying it's happened to. They go into industries and they use disruptive innovation techniques, tried and true, and I'm a huge advocate of disruptive innovation myself. But they use those tried and true techniques, and they change the business from the inside out. Now, what's interesting about agriculture is the companies that have tried that have proven to be fairly not welcome, and that's important to keep in mind. But when we think about digital citizenship, it needs to be easy, it needs to be trustworthy, and once we've established that digital relationship with that end borrower, with that grower, then the payment process becomes easier because they trust who they're working with. And I think the wallet, and I'm going to do a little sales pitch here because I'm a huge fan of the Bushel wallet. One of the things I think is most interesting about the wallet is that the farmer has a chance to increase their own revenue by using the wallet. I mean, using money to make money is just common sense. And I think those types of offers that we're taking back to that grower and helping them in the oversight of their business and being good fiscal stewards for their own businesses, it's those types of things that will gradually break that barrier for digital citizenship. But until we get there, I think that we're going to constantly be negotiating these conversations where we're educating and we're cajoling and we're kind of bringing people over slowly. I think it's these larger, more grandiose ideas that are really going to make a change across the industry.
Right. That's outstanding. Okay, so I'd like to thank you all here. This is going to end. We're going to go to the tranche 3, and I'd like to invite up Greg and Jorny, and they're going to go into more details on our product platform. But please, let's hear it for the panel. All right, thanks, guys. Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks. All right, thank you. All right, thanks, Doug. All right.